Hole in the Woods, Riley St. James. Betty Taylor looks 20 years older than her 63 years. She tells me how she's lived in this house since February 1989. I ask if she knows about Nina Laramie. She doesn't know the girl or the name. I tell her she was killed 3 acres from here in August 7, 1989. She says she was living in this house then with 3 very young kids. But she does remember something bone-chilling from that early August. Betty hoods her eyes and sets a kettle of water on the burner. A watched pot never boils. Still, she stands over it until her stare forces the spout to hiss. It was hot that night, humid. Betty runs her hand over the worn wooden handle of the tea kettle. All the windows were wide open and it was still as glass. Not a tree rustling or a bird chirping. And I heard a scream that went right up my spine. I dropped my ice cube and I actually jumped a little in my chair, she says. Did it sound like a male or female, I ask. Oh, it was a girl's scream, she confirms. Then I heard some voices, male. Some voices, Grable asks. Yes, 2 shouting back and forth at each other. What did they say? Do you remember? I ask. Betty shakes her head and pours steaming water into a teacup. Her hand quivers and water splashes over the rim onto the saucer. I couldn't make out words. Just sounded, troublesome. Like they were in trouble, I say. They were yelling, like my husband yelled at me, you know? I nod, empathetic eyes, trained on Betty Taylor, victim of domestic abuse, hidden with her little chicklings safely away in the woods. I got up and I went to the window so I could try and hear better. And then another scream just put a sick feeling in my stomach. And another one right after that. I didn't know what to do. I just stood there. I thought surely the kids would have heard it and I expected them to come find me. But then, just silence again. And since I didn't hear it again, I wondered if I had really heard it or if it was just my mind playing tricks on me. How long did you stand there, I ask. Well, I don't know exactly. I checked the clock after the last scream and it was almost 1 a.m. My sister lived just down the road at the time and I told myself if I heard it again, I'd run down to her place and use her phone. To call the police, Grable clarifies. She nods. Did you hear anything else? I ask. Nothing, but I couldn't sleep the rest of the night. And the next day, Grable says, did you report it to the police? I didn't tell anyone. Betty shakes her head and tells us the next morning the sun had dawned large and hot, pulsing the ground with August heat and melting away the night's demons, making everything sluggish and ugly and tiresome. Betty only had so much energy, and this particular morning, that energy had to be directed to hungry kids.